the 2019 International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. The 26th year this historic racing event is held here at the world-class Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Team USA, Australia and New Zealand all battling and fighting it out for that trophy at the end of the weekend. And Steve Martin, I know the Aussies are looking to go back-to-back, but certainly some fierce competition they're up against, especially with the revitalised USA team.
Well, absolutely. The Americans are putting a lot into it this year, Emma. They've got a whole bunch of riders making their debut down under in the team. Josh Hayes, ex-American champion. Jason Pridmore's here too. There's almost as if the whole AMA field has come down to take us on.
Well, speaking of ex-champions, you're back here again. Steve, fantastic to see you representing your country. What's it like being a part of such a fantastic event like this?
It's a fantastic feeling to stand up with a bunch of guys representing Australia. I've done it for 10 years now. There must be something drawing me to this place, I can tell you. It's just a real great pride moment.
Well, 3 days, 3 countries and 4 huge races. We cannot wait to see who takes home the title this weekend.
Thanks, Emma and Steve. Before the racing action got underway on Saturday, the teams gathered on Friday night for some social drinks to get to know each other before they went into battle on the internationally famous 4.45 kilometre Phillip Island circuit.
And Phil, it is one of the highlights for the weekend of these guys. They catch up with friends they haven't seen for a while. And in fact, like the Americans, coming down and meeting a lot of people for the first time. So it was great for them all to get together, have a few frosty treats before the teams were announced.
Representing Team Australia in 2019, last year's Ken Wootton Trophy winner Dave Johnson, 3 times champion Sean Giles, Jed Metzer, Laurie Fife and Craig Ditchburn.
As well as the Irish-Australian Paul Byrne for his 2nd time, the very rapid Nova Castrian Aaron Morris, Scotty Webster, Cam Donald, Dean Orchard and the evergreen Steve Martin.
Rounding out the field for Team Australia will be Bo Beaton and also the veteran Queenslander Johnny Allen. Emma Francesco caught up with some of the key members of Team Australia.
I am here with Bo Beaton from Team Australia. 8 international classics already. Welcome back to the island. Looks like the Aussie team is pretty strong this year. You feeling confident?
Yeah, I think we're feeling confident as a team. We've got a lot of people in the top 10 there, and the Americans have definitely brought back a strong team this year. There's no doubt about that, and some great machinery. But I think the talent we've got in our team and some good quality bikes, there's no doubt we can be at the front. Plenty of preparation heading into an event like this? Yeah, look, unfortunately we were a little bit behind the schedule. We're getting our bikes together and we didn't get any testing in. So we've had a few little teething issues on Thursday and not much chassis work on the bike. So we managed to get out yesterday afternoon in qualifying and put a decent lap time in. So hopefully we can keep that up for the rest of the day.
Oh, this track, it's amazing, you know, the speed, the spectacle, the fact the ocean's in the background. Everything's amazing about this circuit. I've done a couple of years in the World Championship and nothing really compares to this place, so it's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's everything's going okay. We're 4th in qualifying, so I messed up my fast qualifying lap, but 4th's still okay. It's in the game and I'm confident that I've got the pace to run at the front and win again. So, yeah, but most importantly, it's just about us all looking after each other and try not to take each other out as the Aussie team, but yeah, it's going to be some tight race and the Americans have really put it on this year, so yeah, we'll see how we go. Got first race coming up.
I think it's competing for your country, you know, there's nothing like it to be out there with a group of guys battling against other countries, you know, it really gives you a great satisfaction if you manage to win. You never know in this racing. I mean, guys get faster throughout the weekend, things happen. We're just going to keep our fingers crossed. We're going to give it everything we can. And there's one thing that we do know for sure, and that is if you lose, you're going to live with it for a year because this event only happens once a year.
Look, all the Aussie guys are really fast, and the Yanks have got some really fast guys too. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the first 2 races, and then hopefully the Aussies, we can come through and win the event again.
2-time Isle of Man TT champion Cam Donald joins me, and just getting a look at that bike. That's not your usual bike. Tell us what happened at the beginning of this weekend.
Yeah, well, it's been a long weekend so far. The Irving Vincent that I usually ride had some mechanical issues, so just when we'd parked that and I thought my weekend was over, I came in the garage to see Rex Wolfenden, team captain, and apologise for not contributing to the effort. And now here I am on his spare bike, so just it goes to show the team spirit of the event.
Speaking of team spirit, the Aussies, can you do it again this year? You are reigning champions. What do you need to do to take it out?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Americans are going to make us work for it. They're extremely fast, so we've got to stick together. We're all going to ride our own race, but also work as a team, not chop each other up out on track, and just get points for the acquire the points for the team effort, I guess.
Now, I heard a little whisper that there's someone that you wouldn't mind beating this weekend. Who was it?
Well, the first race I started from the back of the grid and had a dust up with an old sparring partner from overseas, Mark Miller from America. He really chopped me off in the Honda corner on that last lap, so his card's marked for the next race.
Mark Miller, you heard it. He's coming for you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks very much.
2019 sees the strongest ever team representing the United States, with Josh Hayes, the 4-time AMA champion, and Dale Quarterly, one of the leading privateers from the 90s, joined by Steve Rapp and their team captain, Dave Crussell.
And the fastest American round the Isle of Man, Mark Miller. Barrett Long coming back for another show. Rennie Skaisbrook, an honorary American this weekend after his term in Cycle News. We've got Ed Lindau as well, Robbie Ruel, Michael Gilbert, Jason Pridmore coming back for another dip, as well as the man from Cuba this weekend, Jorge Guerrero. Larry Pegram adds to the list of former AMA stars, and Wade Boyd, long-serving member of Team USA, once again riding the Moto Guzzi. Emma Nota Francesco caught up with some of the key members of Team USA.
It is Dave Crussell, the captain of Team USA. Now, you've been here since the 90s. A big job for you, though, as team captain. What's it like being a part of and organising an event like this and a team?
It's pretty crazy. You know, not just organising the team, but I actually build a lot of bikes myself. So of the team this time round, actually 6 of the bikes are mine, and they've been put together with my hands. So it's been quite an ordeal to actually get all of the bikes there and then organise the rest of the team members to get here. But you know, it's when we first came here and Fergus invited us to the event. We had a kind of a ragtag kind of group of individual bikes, amateur racers, and those kind of things. And we came for a few years, and we really said, hey, we really want to do this. We want to make the US get up the front of the whole thing. And so we put some big money into it, not just myself, but a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of effort. And we're here this year with a really, really strong team. You know, I think the last race, I think we have 4 or 5 US riders in the top 10, which is absolutely outstanding. I think our best ever before this was 2. So, when you get 4 or 5 up there, you can actually start to challenge the Australians for the points. So, yeah, we're pretty stoked about this.
I'm just hoping that I can do my part. Jason, I think, is really the team leader in here, and he's who brought me to it. He's got the most experience with the bike and with the track and the whole event and how it all works. So, at this point, I don't know much about it. This is my learning experience. We didn't talk a whole lot about it coming into this, and I just want to do my part. So far, we seem to be competitive. I feel like we're a little outgunned and outnumbered a little bit, but go out there and give it the best shot that I got, and hopefully just do my job for the team and let everyone be responsible for their part.
Yeah, it's first time here, first time racing like a big time classic bike, and it's something else. The track is amazing, of course, the MotoGP world class, world superbike circuit, and it's just wonderful the way it flows, and you get hard braking and fast bits, you need a little bit of balls, you need a little bit of technique and experience, but we're slowly etching up. We're doing all right. Like, we're slow. I haven't crashed the bike or blown it up, and I think that's there's some attrition in this type of racing, so I've got to be pleased with that. Cameron Donald, who's a fellow TT racer from the Isle of Man, you can kiss my butt, because I will block you, I'll put my elbows out, and if you try to pass me, I will pass you back. So it's on. It's on!
In 2019, Team New Zealand once again takes on an international flavour, led by their team captain and part-time comedian, Duncan Coots. He'll be joined by 3 times BSB champion John Reynolds and internationally renowned journalist Michael Neves from NCN and New Zealand star Jay Lawrence.
Joining the likes of a few Anzacs in Glenn Hindle, Alex Phillips, Glenn Crutchley, Dean Castleton, as well as an Irishman thrown into the mix with Brendan Wilson as well.
Roger Gunn on board his brand new F1 Harris machine, Campbell Stevenson, and Pete Byers, who is certainly no stranger to Australian shores. Steve Martin went behind enemy lines to catch up with key members of Team New Zealand.
One man that's no stranger to the island and has had 3 years' experience as captain of the New Zealand squad, Duncan Coote. Welcome back to Australia.
Good to be here. Yeah, we're all ready to go, so bring it on.
This is one of the toughest fields that we've seen, and you've got a really good crew put together this year.
Yeah, we didn't want to be the donkeys like we've been for the last few years, so we brought Car Cox on board. They were good enough. They've set up a base now in New Zealand, in Taupo, so they've come on board with us and brought some really good bikes and some riders which we've Kiwiified, if you can call it that.
There's plenty of good tracks over there in New Zealand, but what is it that keeps on bringing you guys over here?
Oh, well, this is the greatest track in the world, so everyone wants to come over here and do it at least once. And yeah, the camaraderie, we've got to know the other teams, the other countries, and it's just a lot of fun to see these boys again, and they start to come over to our races too.
The last time I raced here was back in '96. I've been here in between times with a bit of testing with Suzuki and stuff, but to race the track in anger, '96, so it's a long, long time ago. I know where the circuit goes, but it's so fast. It is so hard to hit apexes, and I've spent the last 2 days trying to hit every single apex on the circuit. The only time I've done it is by following my teammate Jay here in the first race today, and it's all starting to come together again now. So it's very tricky. It's a very tricky circuit, but one of the best circuits in the world. It's been a long, long time since I've raced a motorbike, and I'm on the back foot, I must admit. I'm blowing a lot of cobwebs away. I'm riding faster than I really should be or need to, but I'm loving every minute of it. You know, Carl Cox has been really good enough to supply the bike and all the tyres and everything else. So I'm hoping to repay, you know, his trust in me. But at the end of the day, you know, it's a bit of a party, a bit of a festival, and everybody's here really to enjoy themselves.
I've been in contact with Duncan, the captain for the team, for a few years. I did an event with him, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and yeah, from there we've got a bit of a relationship, and also I spent 2 seasons actually there racing another bike, and they ended up taking us to America and we did a few rounds there. So, you know, they've provided some great opportunity when I've had nothing to ride. So, yeah, it's good to give something back. Even, as you know, Steve Martin's here and he passed me one of the races and couldn't have the presenter beating me. So I had to give him some stick on the last few laps. But, yeah, it's a great vibe in the pits. I mean, really competitive, but everyone comes and has a laugh and everyone wants to see everyone out there doing well. So
I'm an honorary Kiwi for the weekend. Carl's flown us all the way over from the UK, and yeah, this is my 5th year racing with the team. For the last few years I've been racing in the Period 6 class on his GSX-R 1100, but this year he's collaborated with Team Classic Suzuki, and which is an official Suzuki GB effort, and they brought over 3 of their amazing classic race bikes for us to use. So I'm on a XR69 and my teammate's John Reynolds on another XR69, and we've got Jay Lawrence on a Katana. And these bikes are really special because they've raced at the Classic TT and scored lots of wins there. So this is the first time really they've been down under and they've been on a proper circuit. So it's taken a little while to get them set up for the circuit because TT settings are completely different to what you need at somewhere like Phillip Island. But as we've dialed them in, they've just become fantastic to ride, absolutely.
We've met the teams. The serious part of the weekend is about to get underway. Join us on the other side of this break as the racing action for the International Challenge hits the track at the 26th Annual International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island.
Of pit lane here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, catching up with Kim Story, who is the General Manager for Destination Phillip Island. And Kim, what a fantastic event to be involved in. But of course, when you leave the track, there are so many sensational things to do across the entire weekend here in Phillip Island.
Absolutely, Emma. So Phillip Island's known for its amazing racing circuit, but also our incredible wildlife. And so little penguins come into the beach every night, and we have visitors from around the world and around Australia experiencing that. We have national surfing reserves. We have fantastic seaside villages with restaurants and cafes ready to welcome visitors. And you can really have a whole of island experience here on the island.
Absolutely love spending the whole weekend here. Can the Aussies do it again?
Absolutely. We're supporting the Aussies, but it's great to see the US and New Zealand contingents here, and that's what Phillip Island's about. We're an international destination, and we hope to attract more visitors every year for this event.
Thank you very much, Kim. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
It is time to go racing here at Phillip Island. This 4.45 kilometre track, world famous. All of the Grand Prix riders, World Superbike riders, and the historic races here this weekend absolutely love this track, and no better place to be on Australia Day than at Phillip Island with absolutely magnificent weather. The riders are getting ready to take the grid for the first of the International Challenge races, and this year we have teams from Australia, America and New Zealand battling it out. Can Australia retain the trophy that they won in a very close fight last year? The 4.45 kilometre track at Phillip Island is world famous, 12 turns, extremely high speed, and these historic bikes will have to undergo 6 laps of frantic action 4 times this weekend to take out the International Challenge Trophy. Let's jump on board for a lap of the Phillip Island circuit with American star Josh Hayes, the 4-time AMA champion, as we scream down towards turn 1, the place where he actually admitted early on in the weekend he has his eyes closed as he comes through here, dropping back only 1 gear and then setting himself up for the long arcing left-hander at turn 2.
Yeah, right here off camber it goes from down the hill now, getting the drive out into 3rd gear, 4th gear, picking it up onto the fat part of the tyre, accelerating hard up through the gears, 4th, clicking 5th as they tip it on the side going through Stoner Corner. The front and the rear fighting for mercy and traction. Yeah, down into turn 4 now. The very slow turn, it goes to the right-hander, then sets you up for the long run out towards Siberia, where they stand the bike up once again onto the fat part of the tyre. Look at the revs rise quickly as they come down to the left-hander at Siberia, which then starts the drive up to the top of the hill at Lukey Heights. One of the most spectacular parts of any racetrack anywhere in the world is the charge up the hill here. You talk about the temperature, Phil, and the revs. Look at the temperature, 192 degrees Fahrenheit. They're saying these guys aren't working these bikes through here as they come through Lukey Heights, up the hill, looking for that passing manoeuvre if they need one, under brakes as they come over the hill here, down into this very critical MG corner where, Phil, this is where you got to start. Oh, there's been a fall there at the start of the onboards, but here's the drive to get your drive down the straight. Yeah, it is a very tricky corner, turn 10. You've got to get the drive out of there and through turn 11 where we run now. Turn 11, it feels like when you look at the track that there's actually a straight in between them. The speed these guys are going, it's virtually one big corner from turn 11, then drive through turn 12. This is what sets up your speed down the Long Gardner Straight. A good run out of turn 12, use all of the circuit and run to the finish line, and hopefully that's a lap somewhere in the 36, 37, 38 second bracket. That's what you'll need to be a front runner in the International Challenge. As we see our bikes coming back now on their warm-up lap for this first leg of the International Challenge here for 2019. Can the Aussies retain it, or are the Americans going to step out of the woods and come and give us a real fight for our life? I think it might be the latter. Well, this year, the American team has really stepped up the challenge with some high-profile riders. We've already been on board with Josh Hayes. Great to see Dale Quarterly, one of the leading AMA privateers from the early and mid-90s, out here as well. Steve Rapp, Larry Pegram, and Michael Gilbert, who this weekend so far, Mark Brax, has been one of the real star performers. And one of the stars from last year, Dave Johnson, coming up on the grid as we look at our grid with Aaron Morris at 37.34, Jason Primont and Paul Byrne rounding out the front row. Yeah, Bo Beaton back there in position number 7, Steve Martin and Sean Giles on the Suzuki Katanas. They're pumped for a big weekend as well. And Larry Pegram, Michael Gilbert and Michael Neves, the Englishman riding for New Zealand on the Suzuki this weekend. And not the only high-profile Englishman riding for New Zealand. Great to see John Reynolds back to Phillip Island as well. Dale Quarterly, one of the real heroes, a privateer from the AMA Championship. Craig Ditchburn on that TZ750 always does well. Cameron Donald has had a difficult weekend so far on board the Irving Vincent, is back there in position number 25. And great to see Rennie Skaisbrook, now working for Cycle News magazine in the US, part of Team USA this weekend, but great to see him back home in Australia. It's now time to go racing as we jump on board with Bo Beaton looking back as he locks down the visor. The heart rate starts to rise, the revs will start to rise. Beautiful sunny conditions here at Phillip Island. No better place to be on Australia Day. We're away for race 1. It looked like a very shabby start there for our pole sitter Aaron Morris as this massive field makes their way down towards turn 1. Flying down the outside of the circuit is Al Phillips, representing New Zealand this weekend on board bike number 20. But it looks like a great start from everyone involved as they pile into turn 1. Look at this marauding pack, as you said, Phil, heading into turn 1. But I tell you what, Jason Pidmore looked like, from the middle of the front row, looked like he got a bit of a jump as well. We'll see what the officials have got to say about that. But what a magnificent sight here at the best racetrack in the world. Oh, running out wide, Aaron Morris nearly clipping the grass here as they head down the Stoner corner.
He has been the pole sitter all weekend, the man in regards to pace, but at the moment this race is being led by Davo Johnson, the man that won the Ken Wootton Trophy last year. There's this huge field of riders, and you made the point earlier on, Braxy, which is very important. These guys are not out for a Sunday ride. They are racing. Look at Jed Metzer, almost elbow down around Siberia corner on one of the only Harris Hondas racing anywhere in the world.
And it's only the first lap, and the tyres are fighting for adhesion. All the different lines, but on board with Jed Metzer as we go up the hill. Davo Johnson running a bit wide. He might slow himself down a bit there. It might allow Jed Metzer to go round the outside under brakes and take the lead at the end of this first lap.
Well, what you can see here too is two definitely distinct riding styles. Jed Metzer tries to carry a lot of corner speed. He has that bike set up more modern, like a modern bike. Look at the corner speed there, right up onto the back of Davo Johnson's machine, bike number 3, as they come streaming out of turn 11. This is a very fast part of the circuit, around through turn 12 now. Let's see who has the top speed advantage. Jason Pridmore showed last year how good he was at Phillip Island. He is so much better this year. He's been in the top of the timesheets pretty much all weekend, and he's now right onto the back of our leading group as they fly down the Gardner Straight for the first time.
Well, he can see those two starting to break away, and he needs to tag onto the back of this to make it a three-way fight. He doesn't want the two Aussies out there fighting at all. He wants to join in and fight the scraps as well. As on board now with Dave Johnson as he heads through Southern Loop for the second time. But look at the body language, the bike language of Jed Metzer. He's got the cases dragging on the ground as he tries to get the power to the ground of that T-Rex Honda.
Yeah, right behind Jason Pridmore on bike number 43, the Ralph Hudson Yamaha. Oh, look at the smoke coming off Jed Metzer's machine, the rear tyre. Right behind him, bike number 4, Josh Hayes. Didn't expect to see him that high up in the order this early on in the weekend.
You say he rides his corners like a modern superbike, Phil. Did you see him backing it in there like a modern superbike? On around the outside, Metzer comes on David Johnson on bike number 3. So Metzer into the lead now. What can he do? Is he going to drag Pridmore and Johnson along with him, or is he going to disappear?
It looked like his belly pan was actually coming loose. Maybe that's what the smoke was that we could see, Braxy, as they drive hard now out of the hay shed, one of the scariest corners here at Phillip Island, and across the top of Lukey Heights. Pridmore, Hayes right in there. Also Aaron Morris on board bike number 64. Didn't get the best of starts, but he's certainly charging his way back through the field, and not too far behind bike number 186, Bo Beaton, on that hand-built all-Australian-made Irving Vincent 1300.
And here they come, Pridmore, bike number 43. As he the back snaps away from him. He's over the bars. Oh, Bo Beaton on the Irving Vincent takes it way over the top as well. What a massive incident, Phil.
Yeah, this was only on the end of lap 2, Braxy, so it'll be interesting to see what the officials do, but that was a massive crash. You can see Pridmore just lost the back end of his machine. I think we'll see a red flag stoppage now as the riders make their way down the straight and in towards turn 1. Yes, we can see a few red flags actually holding there, and the riders have got their hands up in the air, but that was a big incident. I think you'll find Bo Beaton could not see what happened to Pridmore. His vision would have been completely blocked by Jed Metzer and also Davo Johnson, and there's that belly pan I said about that. I think it was starting to come loose, and good news for Jed Metzer with the red flag. They'll be able to fix that up. But there is a replay, the Suzuki replay showing Ralph Hudson's Yamaha going down. Pridmore just lost the back end, and unfortunately Bo Beaton, completely unsighted, had nowhere to go when he was confronted by Pridmore's number 43 machine, and that's 1 down for Team USA and 1 down for Team Australia.
And I'll tell you who else were very lucky was Josh Hayes. He'd had to take evasive action as well. As we look at the Suzuki replay again, and Pridmore there getting on the gas, trying to keep in touch with the leading pair, but over the bars he goes, and like you said, Bo Beaton having nowhere to go, and that Irving Vincent just destroying itself as a cartwheel through the kiddie litter.
Well, here we go, on board with Josh Hayes. Braxy, let's see what he actually did see. He was incredibly lucky, well, to miss the stricken motorcycle and his teammate, Jason Pridmore as well.
As we look at the bike on board with Bo Beaton, Phil, this is going to be very dramatic. He gets on the gas here. Oh, you can see him go right over the bars, the Superman there. And you can see Josh Hayes slowing down just at the corner, out of the corner of his eye, as now we get ready for a complete restart for League number 1 of the International Challenge.
On board with Josh Hayes on the grid, on board the Mojo Yamaha. There is a big fleet of those motorcycles here this weekend. A bit better start for Aaron Morris than it looked like as they made their way off the start line for a restart of race number 1. And as they charge down in towards turn 2, on the inside, Sean Giles looked like he got a pretty good start, but it's Metzer on board bike number 22 for Team Australia that leads them through turn 1.
And again, the Aussies take control of this race. Davo Johnson in second. Alex Phillips representing New Zealand in third position there as they go down through Southern Loop. Now the big drag down through Stoner Corner into turn 4 for the restart of this interrupted leg.
Yeah, Davo Johnson on board the Harris Suzuki XR69, the Tom Dermody-owned machine, the bike that he rode to the Ken Wootton Trophy last year, right onto the back of Jed Metzer. Just looking there, was that I think it was that Michael Neves running a bit wide there in turn 4, getting it a little bit out of shape. But Metzer leads them. Aaron Morris well placed. Steve Martin on board bike number 99, very well placed as well on the first of the or the second of the Suzuki Katanas, right behind Aaron Morris.
And you can see that Metzer's bike sans belly pan at the moment, and he's going to make him chase. He's got the lead now, which he did incidentally at the start of that second lap. Now he's going to try and consolidate this and make the rest of them give chase as they head there. Jolsey on screen on the Birrell Suzuki at the moment. Look at the different lines coming into MG. You'd think that, well, definitely proving they're not out for the Sunday riders. They're trying all bits of different lines, different attacking manoeuvres to try and get a bit of advantage over the next rider.
We can just see just ahead of Josh Hayes there is Steve Martin, the 1999 Australian Superbike champion and 2009 World Endurance champion, starting to give a bit of slipstream assistance there to Josh Hayes. But look at the Katana with absolutely no fairing at all, has a pretty long pair of legs down the front straight. As they come down towards the bottom of the straight, Hayes hasn't been able to get past Steve Martin, who is in turn glued to the back of the Arnold's Fruit Market machine of Al Phillips representing New Zealand.
Well, I think when he saw the bars shaking in his hands, he might have shut his eyes as he does through turn 12 and turn 1 at the moment, Phil.
And it's also interesting too, Braxy, bike number 64, Aaron Morris, is one of the ex-Trevor Birrell Katanas that this weekend is being run by the College team and their star rider, Aaron Morris, who, if he had the right equipment, could still be a front runner in the Australian Superbike Championship.
Yeah, Les Corrish redeveloping that bike from when he got it from the Birrell brothers. And there's Steve Martin on Sean Giles' bike from last year as well. Sean Giles, he's got a brand new bike from the Birrell boys, as we're on board with the 3 times Australian Superbike champion,
who loves this event just quietly, Sean Giles, as we go back to the Suzuki Replay here, on board with Steve Martin. That was the move at turn 10. You could see Morris, when we were looking from behind on Josh Hayes' bike, Morris's foot was off the peg. He was in there at 100% into turn 10 on that occasion.
As we get another look as they come down now into the corner, look at him, foot off the pegs. He does a real inside line there. That's putting a lot of commitment in your tyres because they're not that warm at the moment.
What was that we said before, Braxy, about this is not a parade lap, and there's clear demonstration as we jump back on board with Steve Martin looking at his teammate Sean Giles. Right into the slipstream now. You can see the advantage of the slipstream there. 2 identical motorcycles, the Birrell prepared Katanas with those magnificent frames built by Dale Gilbert. Josh Hayes also puts a big move on Al Phillips to move up 1 position for Team USA. The USA team scoring some good points here in this race. Not too far behind is that Steve Rapp or Larry Pegram on another one of the Mojo Yamahas just behind Steve Martin.
And these bikes are over 30 years old, Phil, but still cracking down the Gardner Straight, topping speeds of 246 to 250 kilometres an hour.
Well, and when you can see the lap record in this class is a 36.3 set by Jeremy McWilliams a couple of years ago. They are not hanging around as Morris now into the lead on board the Corrish machine, doing a great job. Look how out of control that motorcycle is.
Well, I was just going to say the same with Jed. It looked like he was losing the front as he tipped it into turn 4 then, which allowed Aaron Morris a little bit of an advantage. Now that Morris is in the lead, he's probably the younger brigade of anybody in this field on the Les Corrish machine at the moment. He's been fastest all weekend, as you said, Phil. Now he's in the lead for the first time. What can he do?
Well, he hasn't been getting the best of starts, but that's no surprise because he's only spent a couple of days on the machine, Braxy, doing a ride day at Eastern Creek. You don't really get to practice your start. So he's got off to a pretty tardy start, but he's now shown the pace that he's got. He's into the lead and he's starting to show everybody else a clean set of heels, as he has done for the rest of the weekend as well. But look at the style on board that Katana. And isn't it great to see a Katana out front, because this class over the last couple of years has been the domain of Formula One machines, but it's great to see an original Katana out front.
Yeah, and there'll be a few heart flutters there, like you said, it's from the Birrell boys. They'd be quite happy to see one of their ex-bikes is a massive tank slapper. The front end shake of Morris's machine as he tries to keep it under control, which allows Jed Metcher to move up the inside, going through Doohan Corner. How long can he stay there for? Morris is going to throw it right back at him.
Well, there's obviously no handling problems with the Katana around the corners, but that was a little bit unnerving, and I'd say Morris just had to get out of the throttle a fraction, and allowed Jed Metcher with the full fairing and great drive and a full head of slipstream to get his way back past again on that Rex Wolfenden prepared Harris Honda. And as we said, Braxy, one of the only Harris Hondas racing anywhere in the world. Most of those Harris chassis have got either Suzuki, Yamaha or Kawasaki engines in them.
Yeah, well, you know, Rex, he's been a loyal supporter of Honda for a number of years. As on screen you saw a man that dominated last year, Dave Johnson, on board with him at the moment on the Tom Dermody XR69, the one that actually Troy Corser was on last year for a while at another classic meeting in Australia. But these bikes that come out here are just, they're right off the showroom, Phil, aren't they?
And if you're wondering, Dave Johnson riding for Team Australia.
Yeah, I saw the sticker on his fairing, Phil. He's a very proud Australian, and he'll be heading back over to the Isle of Man to fly the flag very proudly. As look at this, Alex Phillips and Steve Martin basically side by side on their Suzukis as well. And also Dave Johnson trying his hardest to keep away the four-time American Superbike champion, Josh Hayes. Hasn't he really learnt this track very, very quickly? But what would you expect a guy of that calibre and that experience? But man, is he fast.
Yeah, it is the battle of the Harris chassis here. Dave Johnson with the Suzuki engine and, of course, Josh Hayes, well, Yamaha power, of course, as they make their way out onto the Gardner Straight now. Looks like the Suzuki's got a fractionally longer pair of legs as they make their way down Gardner Straight. Well, Josh Hayes was saying earlier on the weekend he had his eyes closed through turn one. Maybe he just shut them there a fraction as well, but it looked like right behind Sean Giles had managed to get away from the Al Phillips-Steve Martin battle as well on board bike number 19. So a great showing here from the three-times Australian Superbike champion, Sean Giles.
But look how close this are at the moment. Metcher is right onto the back wheel of Aaron Morris. This battle could go right to the wire. But Morris is starting to get his lap times down into those low 37s as well, as these pair for Australia lead. Oh, Josh Hayes from America moves up into third place overall, relegating Dave Johnson. So maybe for the first time we're going to see an American on the 1-2-3 step of an international challenge race here at Phillip Island.
Well, this is a great battle because there's been two overtaking manoeuvres between the exit of turn 4 and the exit of turn 5 Siberia corner as they make their way up towards the top of the hill now as we jump on board with the Suzuki Replay. Coming around through turn 12 and out onto the straight. I think we'll be on board with Aaron Morris. And we'll soon see Jed Metcher start to make his way past. No, we're on board with Jed Metcher and Aaron Morris makes his way past. There's certainly nothing wrong with that Birrell engine in the Suzuki Katana.
That was just a Suzuki Replay of the lead changing hands yet again. Oh, and talking about the positions changing hands. Steve Martin up the inside of Alex Phillips. That's Australia versus New Zealand right there in the battles for the points.
Well, Al Phillips also has just announced a big deal for the Australian Superbike Championship on board of Suzuki as well, and he's doing a great job here this weekend on board of the Arnold's Fruit Market Suzuki, representing Team New Zealand. But Steve Martin just in front on board the Katana is representing Team Australia along with his teammate Sean Giles, who's a fraction ahead.
And that onboard footage just show how hard these guys are really riding them. The front end shaking, everything fighting for traction as now they go through turn number 1 into the closing stages of this first leg.
Well, you can see there the back end of Al Phillips' machine bouncing up and down. That's how hard he was into turn 1 on that occasion. He's now in the middle of the Katana sandwich with Martin at the back of that three-man group, Giles at the front, and young Al Phillips, son of Robbie Phillips, in the middle on board the Arnold's Fruit Market Harris Formula 1 machine.
And he really rides that very well as that Alex Phillips and gives away a bit of horsepower into the other guys. But at the moment, Giles is trying to hold off it. It's a Suzuki freight train at the moment from two different teams, but Alex Phillips, he's really starting to come of age lately.
Just trying to pick up what American rider it is that's actually back behind this group. I think it might be either Steve Rapp or Larry Pegram that have done a pretty good job on board another one of the Mojo Yamahas.
Yeah, Steve Rapp, you're right, mate. One of our another visiting American who's just taking a little bit longer to get the grips of this track, but then again, being one of the fastest, well, the fastest racetrack in the world, it does take a bit to get your head around. And certainly with his head around it at the moment is Aaron Morris in the lead as he's starting to stretch that lead to the point, breaking point of that rubber band.
Well, you can tell this is the last lap because these three are now hammer and tongs going for it to try and decide positions. But I think we can safely say that Aaron Morris, barring an incident here at turn 12, will take full points for Team Australia. Also, Jed Metcher in second place will take excellent points for Team Australia as well. But a great start for Team America as Aaron Morris comes to the line to take the win, with Josh Hayes taking out third place behind Jed Metcher. Good points for Team America as well.
Great bit of history there for the Americans, their first top 3 finish in the International Challenge.
Well, congratulations to Aaron Morris and Team Australia taking the win. Jed Metzer in second place, Josh Hayes in third. Great result for Team USA. Davo Johnson, Sean Giles and Al Phillips rounds out the top 6.
Leading the way from New Zealand from Steve Martin, Larry Pegram, Jay Lawrence the Kiwi, Johnny Reynolds, Michael Neves and Mark Miller. Great result for him in his first time down here for America in position number 12.
Craig Ditchburn for Team Australia in position number 13, just ahead of Cam Donald in 14th. Good points from 25th on the grid, riding Rex Wolfenden's Harris Honda spare bike. Rennie Scavesbrook finished in 21st, and Pete Byers for Team New Zealand in 23rd as well. No stranger to the Phillip Island circuit.
Just in front of his team captain Duncan Coots and the team comedian, and they're in 25th position, the fastest Cuban in Phillip Island, Jorge Guerrero.
Let's have a look at the highlights now of race number 1. You can see Aaron Morris did not get the best of starts, but a good start from Pridmore as he made his way down into turn 1. The early battle was between Davo Johnson on board bike number 3 and Jed Metzer on bike number 22, both representing Team Australia. And then this huge incident on the exit of turn 11, entry to turn 12. Jason Pridmore lost the back end of the Ralph Hudson Yamaha, and unfortunately Bo Beaton was left with nowhere to go. A red flag stoppage and a complete race restart. Aaron Morris got a better start on the restart, but once again it was a great start from Jed Metzer and Davo Johnson, who led the way early on with Al Phillips on board bike number 20 representing Team New Zealand, challenging hard.
And that shot on the Suzuki Replay showing how hard Aaron Morris was riding and some of the lines he was taking. And again, these passing manoeuvres between Metzer at the front of the field, great racing all around.
On board with Jed Metzer, you can see the speed of Aaron Morris down the start-finish straight here at Phillip Island in towards turn 1. He'd been showing good lap times all weekend, and this race was certainly a continuation of his form as he came round through turn 12 and down to take the checkered flag and victory in the first International Challenge leg of 4 this weekend.
Oh, look, the start wasn't spectacular. I think I was back in about 9th from the first corner, so that wasn't too great, but luckily enough started to claw my way back through, and then we unluckily had a bit of an accident and got the red flag, but fortunate enough for me, that gave me a bit of a chance to have another go at the restart, and got off to a bit better start that time. Still had to pick my way through, but managed to come out on top, so I was pretty happy with it.
And there are in fact 3 more International Challenge races to come here this weekend at the 26th International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. As the teams get ready for this afternoon's second race, Steve Martin gives us a rundown on what 40 years of motorcycle technology looks like side by side.
It's hard to believe that the bike that I ride out on track is actually 38 years old. But we're not here to talk about the age of this bike. We're here to talk about the development between the bikes that were around that long ago compared to the new bikes that are out in the market. How much development has there been? I guess we can start at the front end. Of course, on the old bike, we've got conventional forks, whereas the new bike, the new Katana, has got upside down forks which are stiffer and make the bike handle better. Of course, the chassis, the old bike's got a steel frame, the new bike, an aluminium frame. So there's another big difference. Once again, a lot more development's gone into that. Back in the old days, these bikes used to wobble all over the place. There's big differences on the engine front. The new one's water-cooled, but if you have a look at this one, it's not water-cooled, it's air-cooled. It's got big fins here for keeping things cool, dissipating the heat. Massive clutch on the side of the engine. They didn't know how to make things small back then. It was just fitted in as you could. Also, fuel injection on the new bikes nowadays. The old ones run carburetors. Bikes initially came out with a twin shock rear end like we've got on the back of this Suzuki here. In the early 80s though, Yamaha developed the monoshock rear end. That was able to use a linkage, and that linkage system smoothed the ride out considerably. All the other factories copied, and now on every bike nowadays that comes out, we have the monoshock rear end. In the last few years, we've seen new developments come on, and that's on the electronic side of things. The old bike, of course, it's got a spark plug and just a couple of wires that lead up to the on-off button. But this new bike, it's got ABS, it's got traction control, engine brake assist, so many different things that make these modern bikes really safe to ride. So there you have it. The difference between the old and the new, it's quite a bit. We all know there's plenty of action on circuit here at Phillip Island, but if you need a break, why not come down to the Grand Prix Circuit Visitor Centre, grab a champion burger, a coffee, and have a bit of a look around. If you're nostalgic, there's really hot looking cars and even bikes made by Keanu Reeves here. Have a look at this Arch, for example. But it's the old bikes that I want to show you next. Big names to see. Randy Mamola's bike, Eddie Lawson, John Kaczynski, so much nostalgia. But the bike that they all come to see is that number 46 there. That's the bike that Valentino Rossi won the championship on in 1997. The experience you do not want to miss out on, though, is getting a go on this replica Phillip Island Circuit go-kart track right beside me here. Hit it, guys.
The riders are out on track getting ready for International Challenge race number 2 here at the 26th Annual International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island this weekend. And Davo Johnson unfortunately heading back towards the pits on board the Tom Dermody machine, the bike that took victory in the Ken Wootton Trophy last year. Hopefully they can get that fixed because we need him back out on track to score good points for Team Australia. There's Scotty Webster on board bike number 76, the only rider that has been in the Australian team every year for the International Challenge.
As we look at the grid, and Aaron Morris on pole, from Josh Hayes moving up to second from Jed Metcher, Davo Johnson, Sean Giles and Larry Pegram on the second row.
Steve Martin will start out of position number 7 with Craig Ditchburn and Cam Donald. Hopefully he can get a good start on board that Harris Honda.
Then Steve Rapp, Alex Phillips on the fourth row of the grid as we go through the field with the standouts. John Reynolds from the UK, Mark Miller from the USA, Michael Gilbert also from the USA.
Michael Gilbert's getting better and better every race. Rennie Skatebrook out of position number 22. He's improved a little bit. And Brendan Wilson, representing Team New Zealand, also has been doing a great job here this weekend as well.
And there's my favourite Cuban, Jorge Guerrero, in position number 28, representing the US on his first visit down under.
Yeah, Laurie Fife in there as well. Dave Crussell, the Team USA captain. He's brought a whole lot of fast riders this year. He'd have to have a smile on underneath his helmet. Speaking of fast riders, we're on board with Josh Hayes, who have now taken up the mantle as the lead rider for Team USA after the demise of Jason Pridmore in race number 1. Good start there from the front row of the grid. It looks like Josh Hayes has got an absolutely cracking start. And I think that was Barrett Long on board bike number 29 on Robert Ruwalt's Harris Kawasaki that was heading towards turn 1 with the front wheel well and truly in the air.
And Aaron Morris going through there as well, recovering from that start. But Larry Pegram got us good start from the second row of the grid too to slot in there in that leading bunch as we saw, well, some of the wildlife from Phillip Island, the Cape Barren geese who are part of this racetrack that make it all the more exciting as Josh Hayes heads down now on that Mojo Yamaha. There's a hand go out. Was that Scotty Webster? I'm not sure whose hand went out then, Phil.
I think it may have been even Dale Quarterly on board one of Kerry Andrews' hypercycle machines as they streamed down in towards turn 1. Look at that Jay Lawrence on board bike number 37 for Team New Zealand, trying to go around the outside of Cam Donald on bike number 2, the Harris Honda of Rex Wolfenden.
Oh, and Josh Hayes up the inside of Jed Metcher as they go through Siberia. He doesn't even have a look down. He puts the power down as they head up through the hay shed for the first of this 6 lappers. Oh, it was that Aaron Morris going underneath then on the VP Racing Fuels machine as he heads up the hill, moving up into 3rd position.
There's a case of move aside coming through Aaron Morris, who hasn't been getting the best of starts. As we mentioned, Braxy, no real surprise there. This weekend, today, is actually the first time he's had to have a race start on board bike number 64, the VP Fuels Corish machine, and he's right in the lead group now. He hasn't taken as long as the first race to get back up into this lead group as they come out of turn 11. That was the scene of the big incident involving Jason Pridmore and Bo Beaton in race number 1. Good news is they're both A-OK and on their way to hospital for a little bit of further treatment. But good to see them conscious, and hopefully they'll be back at a racetrack again soon as Morris just goes streaking past both Jed Metcher and Josh Hayes. What about the speed of that Katana with no aerodynamic efficiency at all?
And what about bumping Jed Metcher out of the way as well as he fought for traction? You'll see the bars shaking in his hands as they head down in the Southern Loop for this second lap. But look at this big scene as you look at the backdrop of this magnificent Phillip Island circuit. You don't get many better views than that in international racing.
Well, that's what Josh Hayes said. He goes, he had to take his eyes off the view as he came down towards turn 1 for the first couple of laps. As they go through turn 3 now, with that backdrop in the background there, you can see that Aaron Morris is trying desperately hard to get away from Jed Metcher, but just can't quite do it. A great start there too. Let's have a look at the Suzuki Replay now as they come onto the straight. You can see Hayes right in behind the screen. Aaron Morris has just got unbelievable drive right out wide on the ripple strip and went past them as they went underneath the start-finish line. That's probably not even really using the slipstream.
Now, here's the best view in road racing, I reckon. Aaron Morris going through. The track disappears as all you can see is the Southern Ocean in front of you. Then you've got to get refocused through to turn 1.
Steve Martin on board bike number 99, scoring good points for Team Australia. Speaking of good points, what about Larry Pegram on board bike number 72, doing a great job here. He's also only had limited laps here at Phillip Island. Paul Byrne doing a great job on the Macintosh Bathurst replica machine, another one of Tom Dermody's immaculate bikes racing here this weekend.
As on board at the moment with Jed Metcher, I think we are. Aaron Morris in front at the moment. But Steve Martin's a quiet achiever this weekend so far, Phil. He had a bit of a wretched time on Thursday and Friday during practice and qualifying, but he's finally finding his mojo at the moment.
Well, that's a good point, Braxton, because early on in the weekend he was actually questioning his own ability as a rider. He's worked hard on the setup with the guys in the team, and his pace has been getting better and better ever since he made those quite substantial changes to the suspension. And look where he is now. Bike number 99, absolutely flying.
How can you say you're losing it when you're still doing 137-minute laps around this place? It's just amazing. I'd be pretty happy doing that, but Aaron Morris is the one that's doing the 136s at the moment, leading the field as he stretches that lead. And as you said, Phil, the acceleration of that VP Racing Fuels machine as he heads down into turn 4 again, and he's just holding off the attentions of Jed Metcher at the moment. Oh, Paul Byrne runs it wide on the XR69 as well.
Yeah, hopefully that wasn't a problem. He just got in there a little bit too deep. I tell you what, Aaron Morris has really got some good pace going at the front, but Jed Metcher is hanging on very tight on board bike number 22. So good points here for Team Australia, good points for Team USA as well. Let's have a look back and see where our leading Kiwi rider is. I think that will be Al Phillips, maybe back there. I think he's in about 6th or 7th position at the moment. Or Metcher just stood the bike up there, didn't look comfortable as he came through the top of Lukey Heights. Steve Martin looks like he's also on a charge. He's got closer to the back of Larry Pegram's machine, bike number 22 as well. And good news is Paul Byrne is still circulating around the track, scoring good points for Team Australia. Oh, Jed Metcher down at turn 10.
Yeah, he started going over the top there where he missed a gear, Phil. Tried to collect it all up, but actually outbroke himself going into MG and just lost the front. Manages to pick it up again, but his race is well and truly done.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get that bike started and back out on track. So that's a loss of points there for Team Australia, as one of the marshals gives Jed a hand to try and get it, but he's going to be right at the back of this field, Braxy. So not too many points, especially when you look at the point score. 40 points for first place, 39 for second, 38 for third, and back down the order like that. So not a lot of difference between... Oh, Larry Pegram almost off the track there. Has he managed to save it? I think he's off the track. Can he keep it out of the gravel trap? No, I think that might be Larry Pegram. He'll be dropping back through the field as well now.
Yeah, I think that's a retirement for him because he stood it up, similar to what happened before as we look on a Suzuki Replay. Over the hill, this is Metcher on board with Metcher as he comes down. Oh, you can hear the front end chattering, the back end chattering as well. Tips it on there, just in a little bit too hot, tucks the front. Nothing too severe on that one, but just enough to destroy your race.
Yeah, I think he has had a couple of gear selecting problems so far this weekend. Looks like a recurrence of it there, which caused that incident. As you said, Braxy, it really started at the exit of the top of Lukey Heights, and unfortunately, he got caught out in the middle of turn 10. Back on board now with the Suzuki Replay, and I think that was Larry Pegram going wide at turn 2.
Yeah, it was, and Josh Hayes going around the front of him too, so that was close to a bit of a disaster for both Americans.
That could have been bad loss of points there for Team USA. But the good news is, bike number 4, Josh Hayes, 4-time AMA champion, is still back on track to score good points. But Steve Martin, with all of these incidents, is clawing his way forward. I think you'll find he's up into second place now.
Yeah, well, little increments, but I was just going back to Josh Hayes on that Mojo Yamaha, Phil. Coming down here for the first time, he has really set it amongst them. He's not worried about reputations, and it's just proving how good a racer he is to come down with this USA team and really lift the bar in this international challenge competition.
Well, he said there's so many new things for him this weekend, but one thing that's not new for Josh Hayes this weekend is he's racing on his favourite Dunlop tyres. Looks like he's got a problem as well.
He's slowing right down there.
Slowed there a little bit. You can see that he's not revving the bike, or maybe he's even got a gear shifting problem because it's not going all the way up to the red line like it was earlier on. Maybe he might be trapped in 4th gear.
I like the way they've been saving the engine too, Phil, only revving out to 10,000 revs on these big 1,000cc machines. But look at the temperature, 195 degrees in the old Skull, but the water going through that cooling system.
Oh, Steve Martin, he was having worries about his own ability at the beginning of the weekend. Look at the way he's riding now. Lofting the front wheel on the exit of turn 2, on a charge. You can see Aaron Morris ahead. He's got the ears pinned back, and this is the 2009 World Endurance Champion back to his very best.
Yeah, it's a long time between drinks since I've seen Steve Martin competitive here. He's had not so much being competitive, Phil, but just the reliability of his machines in the last few years. He's had a few mechanical issues which has negated his charge.
And also Sean Giles making his way back through the field there too. Braxy, we could see after both he and Al Phillips had to start from pit lane. Didn't get down to the end of pit lane before it closed, but Al Phillips, he's charging his way back through the field, doing a stellar job for Team New Zealand.
And is on board with John Reynolds on that Team Classic Suzuki Racing, owned by Steve Weekman from England. These machines, Phil, with the Carl Cox banner on the background, but you've seen these machines up close, Phil. They are just so well prepared.
Yeah, it's great to see John Reynolds out here on that bike that technically doesn't fit within the rules, but they've got some extra weight on board. They've also reduced the rev limit, and it's good to see that bike out there, which is an absolute work of art racing in this class.
And look at the weather here at Phillip Island. As you said, Phil, Australia Day on the island. You can't get much better than that. And Al Phillips on the Spartan Arnold XR69. He's gone from the outside, dived up the inside of turn 12 to get the line. On board with Al Phillips at the moment as he goes stormy down Gardner Straight. 260, 265 kilometres an hour on these machines that are pretty old as the lap riders start to come into play.
Actually, I think that was also, Steve Rapp and also Michael Gilbert. They've got a lesson in how fast you can actually get in towards turn 1 there from Al Phillips as he charges his way back through the field after starting from pit lane.
Well,
Top 4 is starting to really get strung out a bit now, but good points for Team Australia with Paul Byrne sitting there in 4th.
Sorry, Phil, just on the last lap. That's maybe why they're getting strung out a bit. Tyres are fighting enough. They've had enough traction problems. But look at Steve Martin. He's getting that style back, the Almado.
And there's Al Phillips. What's he worked his way back up to now, Brax? He'd have to be well inside the top 10 on board bike number 20 after starting from pit lane. Talk about on a charge.
Cut it in half into the top 5, Phil.
Well, there's John Reynolds on board bike number 7. Isn't it great to have the 3-time BSB champion out here? Who's that he's battling with? Was that... Well, I think it was Dean Orchard on board bike number 88 who's doing a good job on another one of the Carl Cox Motorsport machines this weekend as well.
As we go back to the front, and it's Aaron Morris on bike number 64 on the VP Racing Fuels machine. Oh, he just tucks it onside underneath one of the back markers as he comes onto the straight again. Oh, look how hard he's riding that machine, Phil.
I think Aaron Morris is going for the lap record here as he comes down the Gardner Straight, takes the checkered flag. In fact, he was so fast, I think he even beat the checkered flag to the finish line. Looks over his shoulder. And the Cape Barron geese are also very impressed with Aaron Morris' performance this weekend. Lap times down into the 36s. Fastest lap of the weekend, or racing lap of the weekend so far for Aaron Morris, and victory. Good points for Team Australia. Steve Martin in second place once again for Team Australia, and Paul Byrne makes it a top 3 for a Team Australia with Josh Hayes, Al Phillips, our leading Kiwi, all the way from pit lane. What a ride from Al Phillips.
Steve Rapp there in 7th, Reynolds, Miller, and rounding out the top 10, Barrett Long, and a great ride from him as well on that Kawasaki.
Yeah, he keeps getting faster and faster. Scotty Webster once again scoring good points for Team Australia. Dean Orchard in 14th place on that Carl Cox Motorsports machine. And Duncan Coots, the Kiwi captain, taking away points for 19th position.
And also Larry Pegram recovering to get back on track back there in 15th position as well.
Yeah, good point, Braxy, because he did run off the field down there at turn 2 in that incident that also very nearly took out his team leader, Josh Hayes. Let's have a look at the Suzuki highlights now, along with all of that huge crowd on top of the pit buildings there at Phillip Island to see Josh Hayes get a great start in race number 2 and left the pole sitter, Aaron Morris, in his wake and back in the field.
Yeah, sometimes I think Aaron Morris likes blowing the start just to give himself a bit of a charge up. And certainly look at this charge as he comes down the straight and just motors his way past his opposition and take the lead and stretch it out, and just shows how much Hayes is under power, but had a bit of a mechanical issue there by the look of it, Phil.
At the same time, the battle was really heating up behind, with Larry Pegram putting in a great job, Steve Martin and also Paul Byrne, and that was the end of Jed Mensch's race, unfortunately. A missed gear coming down into turn 10 as we have a look at the Suzuki replay. You can see the front end chattering and the front tyre called enough. Unfortunately, an early exit for bike number 22.
But this battle for the minors with Steve Martin nearly come unstuck for the Americans as Larry Pegram had some mechanical issues, and his teammate Josh Hayes had to take evasive action, but nothing could stop Aaron Morris as he comes motoring down there on the VP Fuels machine to take the win.
Oh, I got a bit better start than earlier on today, so that made it a lot better, made it a lot easier for me, a little bit more straightforward, you know. First race when I was coming back from 9th, whereas this one I think came back from about 5th, so made it a bit easier. Once I finally caught the boys, I kind of made a little gap and away I went. It was unlucky Jed went down, but you know, that's racing. So no, look, definitely happy with the win. Bike's working pretty good. We started having a few troubles. We actually had trouble with 3rd gear, so fingers crossed overnight tonight we can fix that and see what we can do tomorrow.
And after 2 rounds, the points for the Ken Wootton Trophy Award are Aaron Morris in first with 80 points, leading the way for Australia. Josh Hayes on his first visit from the USA on 75 points. Steve Martin in 73. Al Phillip from New Zealand on 71. Sean Giles on 66. And rounding out the top 6 is John Reynolds.
Australia leads the team challenge with 326 points over Team USA on 311, and Team New Zealand close behind on 253. Emma Francesco caught up with the biggest stars in the paddock here at the 26th International Island Classic this weekend.
I'm feeling a little bit starstruck because Carl Cox joins us again this year and working with Team Kiwi. Welcome back. I know you love Australia. I know you love this track, but I want to know, how did you make that transition from being an international DJ to getting into motorsport?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the transition in some ways of actually being a team boss started in 2013. And it started off with a sidecar team for Smith & Shorter Racing in New Zealand, and a friend of mine now who's a team manager called Gavin Sokolic. Between us, we decided to create this Carl Cox Motorsport team. And 5 years ago, we had our first motorbike, which is our GSXR 750, which is still have today, and it's still going. I don't know how, but it is. This is the fun of it all. You know, when I first came to see the racing here, I was down at Turn 1 with a club called a 750 Honda 750 club, and then I was at the fence, watching it all go by, and I just knew that that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the garage with the pits with my own team. So that's how it kind of started, that transition of that.
Well, congratulations, because the expansion has been very quick. You started with 2 bikes, and now you're just quickly taking over pit lane.
Yeah, it's kind of, every time I hear the commentator, and the Carl Cox Motorsport, and another different period. It's quite mad to hear my voice in hear my name over these machines. But at the end of the day, it's about teamwork, it's about the riders, it's about keeping the whole fun and the energy and the ability to see that these bikes still have race pedigree, from what they stood for in their early days to where they are now today in the modern era. I think what brings me back more than anything else is that it's an amazing track to actually be a part of. And every year that I'm here as well, I mean, the sun's shining most of the time. I kind of enjoy the summer of all of that. But I think it's so much passion and enthusiasm from everybody that makes this event what it is. And it's just nice to be a part of that.
Can I just ask you one more question? A lot of people are saying the Kiwis are the underdogs this weekend. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, the Kiwis are never the underdogs. They always say never, and this is the best we got so far, but the best is yet to come.
Carl Cox, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Two international challenges down, 2 more to come. Join us after this break for the continuing action at the 26th International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. Phillip Island is an easy 90-minute drive from Melbourne. Connected by a bridge to the mainland, it is home to Australia's most popular natural wildlife experience, the Penguin Parade, as well as an abundance of unique natural and inspiring experiences. With a range of seaside villages to explore, enjoy cafe culture with sea views, shopping in boutique stores and a range of health and wellness experiences on offer. The island delivers rejuvenating experiences. Local produce is showcased by passionate restaurateurs, and meet the winemakers at boutique cellar doors. A range of boutique crafted beers are on offer at our local breweries. Discover Golden Bay beaches and majestic ocean surfing reserves that an island escape delivers. Stay a few days, a week, or discover more at visitphillipisland.com. There's more racing action on track than just the International Challenge races at the 26th Annual International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. 48 other races for racing buffs over the weekend, including the Phil Irving Trophy and the FIM Oceania Historic Road Race Cup, featuring classes from the 500 Forgotten Era, 350 Forgotten Era, 500 New Era and Unlimited Forgotten Era classes. The Pablo's Motorcycle Tyres New Era Formula 750 class featured Australian racing legend Malcolm Wally Campbell and his son Scott, that have been stars in this class over many years, riding Honda RC30s.
And those RC30s owned by Peter House, simply immaculate, simply brilliant machines. Scotty Campbell led for most of the races, but Wally's father, mate, he doesn't get too much slower, lapping pretty much the same as he did all those years ago.
They were also cross-entered in the New Era Formula 1300 class, also sponsored by Pablo's Motorcycle Tyres, where they had to contend with motorcycles boasting up to an extra 500 cc's and including the rampaging Aaron Morris on board the C&M Motorcycles FZR 1000.
Then we have the Shannons 500cc post-classic race, which some beautiful bits of nostalgia running around here, from European models to the British that we've become accustomed to. But all in all, some magic racing led by Tom Bramage on the unobtainium, basically, patent 500cc machine from 1968. Well, you put your own price on it. We also had the Shannons Insurance 350cc Classic with the old stylers, with the old 4-strokes mixing up with a few of the 2-strokes as well.
In the 350 post-classic class, it was the great mix of production and also genuine Grand Prix machinery, where we see the difference between TZs and RD Yamahas out on track. It's the same in the 500cc classic class, where you had TZ genuine Grand Prix machinery racing against more production-based bikes, both 2-strokes and 4-strokes.
And in the Shannons 500cc classic class, these are for machines made from 1946 to 1962. Predominantly those old British bangers of the Nortons, the BSAs and the Ariels and the Velisets.
The 500cc New Era class for motorcycles up to 1990 featured both 2- and 4-stroke machinery and was also featured in the FIM Oceania Historic Road Race Cup.
As was the 500cc Forgotten Era machines, who put on some marvellous displays of racing, as well as had very big fields with some guys too keen to get racing underway.
It also featured Tom Bramage, and it was this second class that he raced in that set him up to win the Phil Irving Trophy with a perfect point score of 8 from 8.
And it wasn't only there too, because in the 350cc Forgotten Era, Lachlan Hill had a perfect score of 8 wins from 8 starts to also be an equal point sharing lead in the Phil Irving Trophy alongside Tom, and also a guy that's won it for the 4th time, Levi Day.
Yeah, to win the Phil Irving Trophy these days, you've got to be entered in 2 classes and you've got to be winning all 4 races in both of those classes. Keogh Watson on board bike number 43 was a real standout this weekend as well, riding for Team Western Australia. The 4th and final class making up the FIM Oceania Historic Road Race Cup was the Unlimited Forgotten Era class, once again held across 2 races due to high entry numbers.
And the likes of these big booming Yamahas and Suzukis from a time gone by. 2-strokes versus 4-strokes again, but there's nothing like the sound of a TZ 750 on full noise.
And after 16 intense races, it was New Zealand that took out the FIM Oceania Historic Road Race Cup for 2019. International Challenge race number 3 is getting ready to fire into action here at Phillip Island for the 26th running of the International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. And no better time to visit Phillip Island than the Australia Day weekend. You get to take in all of the attractions and the best classic racing action anywhere in the world at the same time. There's Larry Pegram. They're having a grid strong run so far here, the American team this weekend. Larry Pegram's been on fire, Steve Rapp, but Michael Gilbert is also going incredibly well, and he'll start well on the grid. But Aaron Morris, the man that's 2 from 2, will start from pole position with Josh Hayes and Steve Martin joining him on the front row of the grid.
And then Giles, Martin and Pegram on the second row of the grid. Johnson, Metcher and Ditchburn on the third. Gilbert, Reynolds and Lawrence on the fourth row of the grid.
Then it's Michael Neves, Mark Miller and Dean Orchard, followed by Barrett Long, who's once again been strong and scoring good points for Team America. Steve Rapp and Brendan Wilson, good job for the Kiwis.
And then we've got Quarterly, Webster, Johnny Allen, Scavesbrook, Coots and Donald rounding out the sixth row.
Yeah, Cameron Donald's had a bad luck weekend this weekend. Justin Mellerick doing a great job for Team Australia. Roger Gunn, Pete Vyers, your man Jorge Guerrero, Laurie Fife and Matthew Ineson doing a good job as well for Team New Zealand.
And still 34 bikes on the grid with a bit of attrition taking over from the first 2 races yesterday.
On board with Sean Giles, the 3 times Australian Superbike champion, all pumped up this weekend. He's actually got his son to come down and watch this weekend. First time he's actually ever watched his dad race. As we get ready for a start, another tardy start there from Aaron Morris of pole position. But as you said, Braxy, he hasn't been getting the best of starts, but then makes his way back through the field. Who will lead them down in towards turn 1? It's Larry Pegram on board bike number 72 for the Americans.
He was off the line like a bullet, second row of the grid, Pegram. He's really getting his head around this. Oh, Metcher on the exit of turn 1. Big head shake as the rear wheel let go of the bike as he tried to fight for traction as this magnificent field at this magnificent venue heads down through Southern Loop for the first time.
Jed Metzer wasn't the only one to have a big head shake, Braxy, but I think it was Larry Pegram leading the race. He was shaking his head, couldn't believe he was leading them down through turn 1 and turn 2, and he's still leading as they head down towards turn 4, but Jed Metzer has set up camp right on his ducktail.
With Steve Martin getting extra bits of confidence every time he jumps on that bike. We're on board now with Steve Martin on the Beryl Suzuki Katana, but out front, look at this, it's going to be hammer and tongs for the entire 6 laps. Pegram leading the way, the American in front of Jed Metcher from Australia, Steve Martin from Australia, and again Jed Metcher as they tipped it on its side through the hay shed, lose a bit of traction as well, and up the inside that was Morris going through Steve Martin. Get out of the way, Sunshine, I'm coming through.
Yeah, I think we had a rider pull off at turn 4. I think that might have been Michael Neves for Team New Zealand as well. So Pegram still leads them down in towards turn 10. Metcher safely through. That was the scene of his incident last time out.
And where's Josh Hayes gone? A guy that's been regularly up the front in the previous 2 races. Looks like he's dropped off the pace a bit. He didn't look too comfortable on the grid. But look at the VP Fuels machine of Morris at the moment. Front end fighting for traction. And look at the drive he gets coming onto the straight as he just motors past the T-Rex Honda. Oh, but that Honda's still got some mumbo too, Phil.
How was the on board there?
How's that on board?
They're riding for the same team. Settle down, fellas. We know Australia Day was yesterday. We want to score maximum points, but Morris and Metcher so close down the front straight. And also, Larry Pegram is still leading this race. Steve Martin's in there as well. And who was that right behind? Was that Paul Byrne on board bike number 52? He's well and truly in the mix as well.
Isn't it great to see how strong the Americans have come down this year? Their contingent they brought down, they really mean business. There you see Pegram leading the way. This is the 3rd lap that he's leading this race as he's got the rest of the Aussies right on his tail. And so Martin trying up the inside as well. They're having a look through Metcher. But here comes Aaron Morris on the VP Fuels machine.
Well, you mentioned earlier on in the weekend about Josh Hayes finding his mojo. What about the mojo of the Mojo Yamaha of Larry Pegram on board bike number 72? And that wasn't Paul Byrne that was behind this lead group. It's Davo Johnson, the man that took out the Ken Wootton Trophy last year. They've rectified whatever problem it was with bike number 3, and he's back out there and on a charge, Davo.
I'll tell you what, Aaron Morris just got the short back inside from Jed Metcher as well. Steve Martin on board at the moment. He's got the best view in the house as they head over Lukey Heights. Hard on the brakes coming into MG. Steve Martin tries to move up the inside, grabs a bit of hold, but look at this. We've got 6 bikes in a freight train. Just showing this means competition as we look at the Suzuki Replay.
Oh, is that Suzuki Replay? I think there's a bit of smoke coming out of Davo Johnson's Tom Dermody, bike number 3 there. Looked like he may have had a bit of a problem. John Giles right behind, and Aaron Morris. That was very close racing there, but as you mentioned earlier on, Braxy, this is not a parade lap. This is the hardest classic racing you will see anywhere in the world.
Well, that's graphically demonstrated by the on-board where you see the front end being twitched, fighting for traction as they come out now. Oh, up through Siberia, hard on the left-hand side of the top. Oh, look at that. Metcher just round the outside, gets the inside line through the hay shed.
Well, desperation with a capital D as we see the riders make their way to the top of the hay shed, but now they're down in towards turn 1. Close your eyes and go through one of the fastest corners. Jed Metcher, corner entry speed into turn 2. Can't quite get around the outside. Steve Martin is lurking with intent on board bike number 99, and also Sean Giles on bike number 19, right on the back of his teammate. We've got 3 Katanas, Braxy, in the top 4. Trevor Birrell and the boys down there in the pits would be over the moon with this performance.
I reckon that was on board with Aaron Morris, and these guys riding a bit harder than you would on a Sunday morning to get the Sunday papers. Look at this majestic sight. Pegram's still there in front. Aaron Morris, oh, a big puff of smoke was that again from DJ's Davo Johnson's machine.
Yeah, I think
he's dropping off the back of that group at the moment.
Yeah, he had a look behind and saw the big cloud of smoke. I think he may have also found that his boot is a bit more waterproof than what it was at the start of this race as well.
And also disappearing that we haven't seen at all this race is Josh Hayes. Where is he? He's dropped right down the leaderboard at the moment. I think he's out of the top 10, which is really going to destroy his hopes of taking out the overall point score. He was in such a good position at the start of this race.
And when you have a think about it as well, Aaron Morris for Team Australia now leads from Larry Pegram for Team USA. Then it's Steve Martin, Sean Giles, all getting great points for Team Australia as well. Unfortunately, Davo Johnson's dropped out of the equation, but right behind Sean Giles, we've got Jed Metcher on board bike number 22.
Yeah, he's dropped off the pace from being up there in second position. But that just shows you only one little mistake and you can be back from second to fifth in one fell swoop. Oh, Steve Martin and Larry Pegram side by side. Yamaha versus Suzuki on the drag down Gardner straight into Doohan Corner.
Aaron Morris getting a good jump on the rest of the field there. He's got a great drive onto the straight, and he's managed to pull a couple of bike lengths between this group as we go on board with Larry Pegram now, who's got the most entertaining seat in the house with the 4 Australians right in front. Jed Metcher, once again, elbow down through turn 2.
The body language and the way they ride these bikes belies comprehension sometimes. These bikes are the best part of 30 years old. The riders have probably seen better days, but try and tell that here at Phillip Island. It is just madness as we go hammer and tongs on the 4th lap of this 3rd international challenge here at the International Island Classic. Proudly brought to you by Visit Phillip Island as we go to another Suzuki Replay. Just look at the power of these machines as they head down there. We're talking about Pegram. Well, has Pegram got a problem there?
Yeah, I'm not sure because both Steve Martin and Sean Giles seem to make their way past, and then also Jed Metcher taking the outside line through turn 1 as well. But as we go up to the top of Lukey Heights now, it is Steve Martin and Sean Giles closing right back in on the other ducktail of Aaron Morris's machine. When was the last time, Braxy, we saw Katanas 1, 2, 3 in this class, which over the last couple of years has really been the domain of the Formula 1 machines, most notably the Harris chassis?
It's been a while, and it's just allude to that with the fact that when was the last time we saw Steve Martin fighting for the lead? He has really found something this weekend, as you said earlier on in the telecast. He had a bit of a confidence, question mark over himself, but now look at him. They've got the teammates. We've got, 4 Australian championships there. 3 for Sean Giles, as we're on board with him at the moment. Steve Martin, the 1999 Australian Superbike champion, and Aaron Morris, a runner-up in the Australian Supersport Championship as well.
Yeah, Sean Giles is starting to look quite menacing as well as he goes around the outside of Steve Martin and takes up the running in second position. Around through turn 2 now. It is a Katana-a-thon at the front with the Harris Honda of Jed Metcher right behind. Team Australia, 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. Larry Pegram doing a good job for Team USA as well. He's dropped off the pace a fraction, but he's still scoring the best points for Team USA.
He's flying the flag by himself at the moment, is Pegram for the USA team. Trying desperately, valiantly, trying to hang on to the ducktails of these machines at the front. 3 Hondas, 3 Suzukis, pardon me, then a Honda of Jed Metcher, and then Larry Pegram on the Yamaha. You can just see him on the back as we've got Aaron Morris on board as they come up the hill. What a sight as we look back down there at Bass Strait from the rear of Aaron Morris's motorcycle.
Through one of the scariest corners at Phillip Island, the Hayshed corner. What would that be? Flat out in 4th gear on one of these period 5 machines, Braxy, as they make their way up towards the top of the hill now. I think you'll find closing in on the back of Larry Pegram's machine is his Team USA teammate Michael Gilbert. I've mentioned a couple of times this weekend, he is getting faster and faster every race we head out on track, and don't be surprised to see him up with this lead group very, very shortly if he continues his pace.
Well, it's one thing about this 4.45 kilometre Phillip Island layout. The more laps you do, the more confidence you get in going as fast, because you really need the momentum and speed as on board as we come down Gardner Straight. But look at this quartet of riders as they head down now. They must be getting close to their last lap.
It is the start of the last lap now, and it is Morris that leads from Giles. Martin and then Jed Metzer. We've got a pretty good gap. Metzer tries to go around the outside of Steve Martin in turn one. That's an equation that I don't think you need a calculator to work out. Is not going to work.
Not with Steve Martin shutting the door and just slamming it, breaking the windows. He slammed it that shut. But the crowd here, the magnificent crowd here at Phillip Island on this Sunday morning, is getting a great exhibition of hard riding and fantastic classic racing, and probably one of the best classic meetings anywhere in the world, at the best venue in the world.
Well, down in towards turn 4, it is still anyone's race here with the top 4. Nothing separating them as they make their way out towards Siberia. That rider doing the right job and getting out of the way, courtesy of the blue flag being waved by the hard-working marshals here at Phillip Island this weekend. But it is really now, looks like Giles and Martin that are going to have to try and stop the Aaron Morris charge as he's pulled a few bike lengths on the way out of Siberia, riding the wheels off the Corish VP Fuels Suzuki Katana bike number 64.
Well, is it going to be 3 wins from 3 starts from Aaron Morris at the moment? Well, look at him, Steve Martin around his outside of his teammate. The Birrell brothers will be starting to pull their hair and their beards out, but he goes up the inside to move in a second position. Great move by Steve Martin. He's got his mojo back, no doubt about it.
How did he stop it, turn it, and keep the bike on track with the drive? You could also see the way he got the run out of turn 11 as well. He's got a full head of steam now as he comes out onto the straight. Look, you can see the aggression from Steve Martin. He's closed up onto the back of Aaron Morris's machine as well.
What's happened to Morris?
Morris looks like he's missed a gear or something, Braxy, as they've come out onto the straight, because he's essentially hit reverse gear, and he'll be lucky to finish 3rd place with Sean Giles on a charge. But Steve Martin takes the win, his first win in an international challenge race for many, many years. And do you reckon he's happy about that?
Well, he'll be probably pinching himself at the moment, Phil, thinking, did I really win that? Because I was coming onto the straight in 2nd position. I think he realises he might have done it.
But I think Aaron Morris must have missed a gear or something through turn 12, because he had a clear lead and then all of a sudden he had no drive. Steve Martin takes the win from Sean Giles and Aaron Morris. Jed Metzer in 4th, Larry Pegram and Michael Gilbert round out the top 6, and a great result for the 2 Americans there to hang on to Team Australia.
Then Steve Rapp making it 5, 6 and 7 for the Americans from Ditchpoint. Orchard Reynolds out there rounding out the top 10.
Barrett Long also scoring good points. Jay Lawrence scoring good points for Team New Zealand as well. Dale Quarterly, good to see him inside the top 15 as well. And your man, Jorge Guerrero, the fastest Cuban here this weekend representing Team USA.
And nearly getting into the top 20 for him too. Wow, that was one dynamite race, and we've got one more stanza left of this 4 legs as we look at the highlights, proudly brought to you by Suzuki.
Yeah, great start there it looked like from Josh Hayes, but that was about the last time we saw him at the front, because not long after that he was conspicuous by his absence. What wasn't absent was fast, aggressive racing at the front, with Steve Martin, Jed Metzer, Sean Giles and Larry Pegram leading about the first 3 or 4 laps of the race and having his best racing of the weekend so far.
That's a great onboard shot from Jed Metzer. Head under the fairing, and Aaron Morris goes storming past him. Suzuki versus Honda Power.
And that was the end of Davo Johnson on board bike number 3. Smoke billowing from the back of Tom Dermody's bike number 3, the Suzuki Harris machine, as Larry Pegram had to surrender the lead, but it wasn't long. He was back in front again and leading a merry chase up towards the top of Lukey Heights.
He likes playing this game at the International Island Classic, doesn't he? And Morris up the inside. Pegram's just, I thought I saw a shake of his head there going, if you want that badly, son, I'm ready to play.
Well, they say visit Phillip Island, it's naturally playful, and that is exactly what they're doing at the moment as they made their way down in towards turn 1 for the final time. Giles went past Steve Martin, and it was all on at the front of the race with the Katanas 1, 2, 3 with Aaron Morris, Sean Giles and Steve Martin out front of this race.
Yeah, and I think the playful mood of these guys is a bit too much for the vast array of spectators here at Phillip Island today.
And as they came out onto the start-finish straight for the final time, Aaron Morris must have missed a gear because Steve Martin, with a full head of steam, went sailing past along with Sean Giles, relegating Morris to 3rd.
Congratulations on your first win here in Phillip Island. You must be feeling really good.
Well, I am feeling good, but I'm a little bit worried that you've stolen my other job at the moment, actually. Well, you know what? It's been a long time since I've been around this track. We didn't really do much practice coming into the weekend, but every time I get on the bike, I'm feeling about 5 years younger. So I'm feeling about 45 at the moment. So hopefully in the race later on today, I can keep it up. But it's such a great feeling to be racing with those guys out there. And not only that, to be on track with all the legends at the same time.
A 3rd place finish in race number 3 sees Aaron Morris hold a slender 5-point lead over 4-time AMA champion Josh Hayes, who is getting faster and faster in his first ever visit to this magnificent Phillip Island circuit.
You know, everybody's watched this race, Grand Prix, World Championship Superbike races on TV from all over the world. Those racers rave about it, so everybody's excited to come check it out. The scenery is amazing, you know, I mean, almost distracting, and that's a bad spot. Turn 1 is a bad spot to be distracted around this place. Fortunately, these things aren't quite as fast as a GP bike and probably not as fast as a World Superbike, so I got a little bit working in my favor, but anytime you have real estate this close to the water, it's usually, you wouldn't think they're gonna put a racetrack there, so it's amazing and awesome that they were able to do that, and I've really enjoyed my time riding around here. It seems to be coming to me pretty quickly. It made sense compared to what I saw on TV, you know? I showed up, I rolled around and go, yep, this looks familiar to me, and so fortunately it's allowed me to help the U.S. team and kind of get in the mix and fight it up with those guys a little bit.
Well, the Aussies are looking for a back-to-back win. I think you might know that. But a lot of people are talking about the threat from Team America. So can you do it this weekend?
Well, I mean, because it's a team effort, it's not just up to me. I'm just hoping that I can do my part. You know, Jason, I think, is really the team leader in here, and he's who brought me to it. He's got the most experience with the bike and with the track and the whole event and how it all works. So, you know, at this point, I don't know much about it. This is my learning experience. We didn't talk a whole lot about it coming into this, and I just want to do my part. So far, we seem to be competitive. I feel like we're a little outgunned and outnumbered a little bit, but go out there and give it the best shot that I got, and hopefully just do my job for the team and let everyone be responsible for their part.
There is no accommodation closer to the action here at the 26th International Island Classic than the Trackside Campground. Plenty of patrons making their way in to take up their positions and get the best view of racing action here at the 26th International Island Classic, presented by Visit Phillip Island.
Probably the best view you can ever have from your tent. And once you do set up camp, you don't have to leave for the entire weekend. It's all here.
Another highlight of the International Island Classic weekend is the Shannons Parade Lap, where motorcycles of all shapes and sizes from Prix 1990 have the chance for a leisurely tour of the Phillip Island circuit, this year led by Carl Cox on the fastest ever classic bike around the Isle of Man TT circuit.
And it's been a regular feature, well supported by Shannons Insurance over the years, and a great initiative where the average punter gets a chance to go out and have a bit of a steer around this fantastic layout.
Fergus, firstly, congratulations. The 26th year of such a fantastic event, and each year it just gets bigger and better.
Oh, absolutely. It's just amazing the way that this has evolved over a period of time. And going back 26 years, when the event was made up of pre-war, classic and post-classic bikes pretty predominantly, and now we have a complete change. And in fact, we didn't have any pre-wars this year, but we've got a lot of more modern bikes here now.
And David, everyone loves this track. We see riders come here from all over the world. Of course, we've got our locals like Steve Martin, but we also have some really big names come from America, such as Josh Hayes this weekend.
Yeah, so Josh Hayes has joined this year. Jason Pridmore, after last year's race, went home, wanted to take it to the Aussies and went and recruited his own team. So, listening to Josh Hayes and what he's done and, what he wants to do here in Australia, it's really exciting. And the likes of John Reynolds coming out, referring to this track as the best in the world, it's really humbling, but it's really exciting to see these guys come out to Australia and ride Phillip Island.
I think the people who designed this track back in 1956 really got it right, especially for motorcycle racing. Just the transitional corners, the fast transitional corners, the riders love it. The high-speed circuit, it is the highest speed circuit in the world.
David, I love coming here for a race weekend. You must love working here every day at a beautiful circuit.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes you sort of get stuck in the office, but as soon as you step outside into the open air and look out down the Bass Strait and look out over the lake, it is a pretty amazing place to work. And to be able to live in a country like this, to live in a place like Phillip Island, it's really humbling. It's amazing.
Well, it wouldn't be a Phillip Island Classic if we didn't have Ken Lucas, and this is his 28th event. And Ken, we're very happy to have you here this year again.
Look, it's a part of the yearly place we go, and if we don't go, we get very unhappy. And you can't believe how good these people are, I don't know whether it's me and my style, but they spoil me so much. Fergus Cameron gave me a camping spot down the caravan park. No charge, Ken, and they look after me. It's just I don't know whether it's because I'm going to be 88 in a week's time or what. I've been around the Isle of Man 5 times, and Daytona. I rode at Daytona when the Britons were over there, and I'm just a spoiled bloody brat. John Surtees was one of my great friends, and when I had a ride in the Isle of Man, John bought a 350 Manx Norton for me to ride. That was at Brands Hatch on a Derek Minter day. Then he put it on the ferry to the island for me, and I rode that. Poor old John's dead now, but he was a gracious man. The most sad thing about poor old John, his son had a son who was just growing up driving a car, race car, and a wheel come off a car and killed John's son. And it's sad things and marvellous things in what we do. But here over this weekend, I'm getting all the help, and I feel bloody spoiled. Yesterday, the wind was that bad going down to Honda, my big Vincent. It started, the wind grabbed the thing, and then it got a big tank slapper. Mind you, only doing 60 mile an hour, and the bloody thing wanted to go up there in the gravel. And I wanted to keep it on the black. We struggled there for about 50 yards, but I won.
And you've got a Douglas here as well. Tell us about that Douglas.
Look, that Douglas, I bought it in New Zealand about 30 years ago. I took it to Bathurst, and people won't believe me, but it's in writing. It ran 130 mile an hour through the speed traps at Bathurst. And that's been my love affair for the last 30 years. I win a lot of races on it, it's a pity.
So you've seen plenty of tracks in your time, but your short circuit, what's your favourite short circuit track?
Well, it's got to be Phillip Island. I feel like a spoiled brat, but I enjoy it.
Great to see Ken Lucas here this weekend, and congratulations on the OAM. Very well deserved. A long-time competitor at the International Island Classic, and great to see him here this weekend as well, as we're getting ready now for race number 4, the 4th and final outing for the International Challenge. It is very, very tight in the points, with Team Australia holding a very slender lead over the Team USA team, and then also Team New Zealand not too far behind in third. And Braxy, as we've seen in other years gone by, it is not over until the final flag comes out for race 4. Anything can and will change. This is Motorsport. This is the International Island Classic.
And this is classic racing here at Phillip Island, proudly brought to you by Visit Phillip Islands. We go through the grid with Aaron Morris, Josh Hayes and Steve Martin, Sean Giles, Paul Byrne and Larry Pegram, the front 2 rows.
Jed Metzer, who's been fast all weekend out of row 3, along with Craig Ditchburn, who's also been fast on the TZ, Dean Orchard, Michael Gilbert, Al Phillips in there as well. Hopefully he's not starting from pit lane in this one.
Mark Miller again, another one of the Americans in 14, Barrett Long again in 16, Quarterly in 17. So good smattering of Americans at the top half of the field.
Yeah, Duncan Coots, Team New Zealand captain and comedian, has been doing a great job this weekend as well. Roger Gunn back there in position number 25 with Matt Ineson, Joe Petwood, Campbell Stevenson towards the back of the grid as we get ready. Race number 4 about to get under the way. On board now with the 3-time BSB champion John Reynolds.
Here's the final race for 2019. The revs are building, the heart's starting to pump a bit harder as they get ready for this start. Who's going to get it? It's Josh Hayes. A little bit of a jump from there, Phil, but I think that's not going to come under the scrutiny of the officials. But Josh Hayes willing to make up for the disappointment of that, last race where he finished 14.
Down through turn 1, it is Josh Hayes has got a cracking start. Steve Martin's also got off the line well on board bike number 99. He's all pumped up from his victory in the last race as they make their way round through turn 2. Michael Gilbert on board bike number 55 has also got away well and is there looking to try and charge his way forward.
Josh Hayes showing the talent that took him to 4 AMA championships. Already starting to get out a bit of a lead from Steve Martin. But look at the marauding pack as they go through Stoner Corner for the first time. Metcher sideways. Is he up the inside of Steve Martin, pushing Alex Phillips wide?
Yeah, they were 3 abreast coming into turn 4 on that occasion. And I think the one that missed out a little bit was Aaron Morris right behind as we jump on board. The VP Racing Fuels Katana down through the big left-hander, the heavily banked corner at Siberia, right on the ducktail of Al Phillips' Arnold's Fruit Market machine as we make our way up the hill. Oh, that didn't sound real good.
No, not at all, but a bit of a squiggle on the back wheel from Aaron Morris. But look at Josh Hayes. We're only halfway through the first lap, Phil, and he's got a lead of about 6 or 7 bike lengths over Steve Martin. leading the way for the Australians. But this just shows the quality of this American field that's coming out, and no doubt next year it's just going to lift to another level because there'll be more guys wanting to come down and put their name alongside the American team.
Well, we had an opportunity to talk to Josh Hayes in between races 3 and 4, Braxy. He was very disappointed with that DNF. An electrical problem caused his DNF in race number 3. He was all pumped up. He gave us the thumbs up from the commentary box when he was down there on the grid, and I think this is a fair indication that he is ready to go in race number 4.
Well, the casualty of that was Steve Ratt, because they took his bike off him to get all the bits to put on Josh Hayes' machine. But Steve Ratt, being the team man he is, gave it up and has gone up the roof with the masses of other people up there to get a great look as we look at the Suzuki Replay coming into turn number 4.
You can see how hard these riders are pushing. Jed Metcher, Steve Martin and also Al Phillips, they're 3 abreast on the Suzuki Replay down in towards turn 4.
You saw Al Phillips getting pushed wide there too on that replay.
Morris was actually lucky that he was just far enough behind to avoid the melee as they go in single file this time into turn 4, making it a little bit easier as they come hard out of the corner. It is Al Phillips that leads this 3-bike trio, trying to reel in the 4 times AMA champion Josh Hayes on board the Mojo Yamaha out of Siberia and up towards the top of the hill. Difference in acceleration between the bikes is negligible, but this is where Jed Metcher seems to carry a lot of corner speed down through the Hayshed corner, and then sets him up for a great drive across the top of Lukey Heights.
So Phyllis there in second position, but it might be one thing to catch up to Josh Hayes, but try and get around him now that he's in the lead for the first time. And on the process, could be on the way to making history for the first American to win a leg of the International Challenge here at Phillip Island.
Well, as we've mentioned plenty of times this weekend, Braxy, he is the rider in this field that gave up racing most recently. There are some riders out there like Al Phillips that are still racing, but Steve Martin, as he said, he rides competitively once a year at this very meeting. Great to see Larry Pegram doing a good job out there as well. Dean Orchard's also leading his Carl Cox teammate John Reynolds, the 3 times BSB champion, out onto the straight. But look at the speed differential there. The fully faired machine of John Reynolds versus the Katana, which has no aerodynamic efficiency whatsoever.
And you can't get a better sight in racing than that, no matter how fast you're going down Gardner Straight. And look at Bass Strait on such a magnificent day here at this Australia Day weekend for the International Island Classic. But look at these guys. Alex Phillips representing New Zealand on bike number 20. And then it's Jed Metcher leading the way for the Aussies. But at the front we've got Josh Hayes on bike number 4, leading a very merry dance, a determined guy, just showing you how good the talent is in this American field.
Good points for Team Australia with Jed Metcher in 3rd, Steve Martin in 4th, and the points for the Ken Wootton Trophy is going to be very, very close. We'll have a short break and come back on the other side of this for the exciting final conclusion of race 4 in the International Challenge at the 26th Annual International Island Classic presented by Visit Phillip Island. Phillip Island's golden beaches and seaside villages await you as you drive across the bridge to your island escape. Phillip Island boasts world-class surfing reserves and a vast array of wildlife in its natural habitat. Stretches of breathtaking coastline and waterways that you can experience on local charters and get up close to the Australian fur seal colony. Phillip Island boasts a range of accommodation options, including apartments and boutique bed and breakfast accommodation. Take a stroll on bushland trails and enjoy sea views from restaurants and cafes. Indulge in boutique brews and award-winning wines. For the adventurous, challenge yourself on rope adventures or go go-karting on the scale replica circuit. The island has your holiday adventure waiting. Final stages now of International Challenge race number 4 here at the 26th Annual International Island Classic. Josh Hayes is in a very safe lead at the moment, but the positions for 2nd, 3rd, 4th place is extremely close and will go right to the flag. And also the extremely important points for the Ken Wootton Memorial Trophy are up for grabs. Josh Hayes has got a very handy lead, but this battle, Braxy, there is nothing between these 3 riders.
Not at all. It's just going to take a missed gear or just a bit of missed timing for one of them to go forward or backwards. And Josh Hayes, with the position he's in at the moment, with his 3rd and 4th positions in the first 2 opening legs, is going to really rue that 3rd leg disappointment as the battle intensifies for the Ken Wootton Perpetual Trophy for the overall leading point scorer. Is it going to be an Aussie or is it going to be an American?
Well, the other interesting thing is that no Aaron Morris in this lead battle. He is battling at the moment with gearbox gremlins on board the Suzuki Katana. He has only got 3 gears to use first, second and third, so his speed down the start-finish straight is somewhat compromised. The fact that he is lapping in the 38s is a testament to how well Aaron Morris is riding this Katana, and the fact that he's still well inside the top 10 and still in contention for the Ken Wootton Trophy belies belief.
As we go back to our leader, Josh Hayes, going through the hay shed there. The Hayes through the hay shed, that's not a bad one. As Alex Phillip on bike number 20 in second position. Jed Metcher trying to outside line. Is he going to do a dive bomb going into MG corner? He's having a good look, but oh, look at that. Steve Martin was also having a look at him too, Phil. And Metcher has a look around the outside to see where they are as they come out of turn 10 through the cops at turn 11. This all-important drive to get the drag through turn 12 and onto the straight.
Well, Jed Metcher hangs that far off the bike. He can probably see around 2 motorcycles in front of him as they come onto the start-finish straight. And just having a look at the points of the Ken Wootton Trophy, Aaron Morris still holds a very slender lead over Steve Martin if they stay in their current positions. Points can differ by 1 or 2 every time there's an overtaking manoeuvre. It is not going to be over until the checkered flag comes out. Steve Martin at the moment sitting in 4th place. If he gets ahead of these two, he could go ahead of Aaron Morris.
Well, it's 40 points for the win, 39 and so on, all the way down to 1. Oh, Alex Phillip has done something right there. I tell you, the front wheels just had a bit of a chatter and he stood it up a bit, but he hasn't lost that much drive. But saying that, Jed Metcher's been able to get about a 4 or 5 bike length lead, and look at Steve Martin. He's got that look of determination. He wants to move up the inside. He's not going to be happy sitting in 4th position.
And his teammate Sean Giles back there in 5th position. This would also be the best points for Team New Zealand in an international challenge race for quite some time as well, with Al Phillip up there in 3rd place on the road on board the Arnold's Fruit Market Suzuki Formula One Harris machine.
And don't take anything away from the best result for the Americans so far, with Josh Hayes out there by about 3 seconds at the moment over Jed Metcher in second. Mate, this is just an appetizer for 2020, I'll tell you.
Well, the scary thing is, Braxy, he's already indicated that he is ultra keen to come back for 2020, as are all of the Americans. They love Phillip Island, and Steve Martin loves turn 10. What an overtaking manoeuvre there for bike number 99.
What a squeeze there, and I'm just thinking that there's something wrong with Alex Phillip's motorcycle. He's going backwards at a greater rate of knots with these two marauding the Suzuki Martin and Jed Metcher there in second position. As they come down and this should be getting close to the last lap, but there's nothing taking away from Josh Hayes, the American, the 4 times AMA Superbike champion, leading him away. At the moment, he's got a lead of just on 4 seconds as we look at the Suzuki replay of that move by Steve Martin so late in the weekend and still having the tenacity to pull one off.
Well, I wonder if he's actually doing the sums and he knows what the situation is with the Ken Wootton points, because that was a big move. Aaron Morris has just lost another position on track and Steve Martin has moved up 1. The points has just changed around by 2. If Martin can get past Metcher, it could be Steve Martin walking away with the Ken Wootton Trophy for the highest individual point scorer in the international challenge races.
But look at this, Steve Martin. But Alex Phillip hasn't given up by any shot at the moment. He is right on the ducktails of these guys in the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but take nothing away from the man up front. Josh Hayes, he got away from the start and he just left them standing.
Well, he said at the beginning of the weekend, Braxy, that his eyes were closed through turn 1 and several other areas around the circuit. I reckon they're wide open at the moment. He would be loving this as he puts a lap on one of the unfortunate back markers and comes up towards the top of Lukey Heights for the final time. This 3-bike battle now sees Steve Martin in the lead. That could be enough, Braxy, if he can hold that to the line, but he's in the position where he's going to offer a slipstream to both Jed Metcher and Al Phillip. Martin is safely through turn 10, and could he be on his way to the Ken Wootton Trophy for the first time?
He could well be with that late braking manoeuvre. He nearly went grass cutting. It was that tight a line as they come on to turn 11 through turn 12 for the final time of 2019. Josh Hayes has already got the checkered flag, but who's going to get second as Hayes comes down Gardner Straight? It's Steve Martin from Jed Metcher, Alex Phillip, but it's Steve Martin that's going to take second and maybe the Ken Wootton Perpetual Trophy.
Yeah, I think Al Phillip may have just snuck up into 3rd place to take good points for Team New Zealand, but nothing can deny the man on screen, Josh Hayes, from the first American to win an international challenge race and top points, all 40 of them for Team USA.
And he'd be ruining that race 3, well, the non-event when he finished 14th. But he's a very happy man. As you said, Phil, he's coming back next year. Pridmore will recover from injury and he'll come back next year. It'll even be a stronger USA team. It'll be a stronger Australian team, a stronger New Zealand team. Can't wait for 2020.
Well, congratulations to the Mojo Yamaha crew from Team USA taking the final race victory. They've been especially fast all weekend, and they've had the specially freighted out Dunlop tyres all the way from the USA, the team's favourite choice of rubber here this weekend. Steve Martin will take the overall on board bike number 99, and he'll be pretty happy with that as well. The final race, it's all Joshua Hayes on board bike number 4 from Steve Martin and Al Phillips. Jed Metcher in 4th, Sean Giles in 5th, and Larry Pegram, another great ride to round out the top 6. Michael Gilbert got better all weekend, and watch out for him in 2020. John Reynolds in 8th, Aaron Morris in 9th, and Mark Miller, another top 10 performance from the fastest ever American around the Isle of Man TT circuit. Dean Orchard, 13th place for Team Australia. Barrett Long, good points once again for Team USA as well. And their captain, Dave Crussell, finished in the top 20 on board his Yamaha TZ. Let's have a look now at the Suzuki highlights of the very exciting Race 4, the final outing of the weekend here at the 26th International Island Classic for the International Challenge races. And just after the start, Josh Hayes had gone, and the rest of the field were left to sort out their own places, because you can see there Josh Hayes has already got a fantastic lead on the first lap as they made their way down towards Siberia. He just continued to extend that lead in the entire race. But the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th position went all the way to the flag. Al Phillips, Jed Metcher and Steve Martin constantly swapped positions, and with it, their overall points for the Ken Wootton Trophy. Aaron Morris, as he had these gearbox issues, dropped back through the field, unable to maintain the pace at the front, and at this stage was still leading the overall individual point score. Martin went 1 point ahead when he got the better of Al Phillips at turn 10, and then 1 point in the lead of the International Challenge individual point score as he came round onto the start-finish straight on board bike number 99 to take out 2nd place behind the rampant Josh Hayes, and Al Phillips used the slipstream of Jed Metcher to take 3rd in the best points of the weekend for Team New Zealand.
What can I say? That was absolutely fantastic. Having some good battles out there in the scraps, I can see.
Oh, it was just it's been a great weekend for me, really. I mean, like, for me and for Team Australia, it's unbelievable. I've done this event for a few years now, and I've sort of struggled, but I don't know what happened, because I didn't do anything different, but it's all really working well. We've had a lot of help with the bike this weekend. I just want to, thank everybody that's helped us to get to where we are and to make me feel comfortable on the bike. It's been fantastic.
I was texting with Jason Pridmore, who's really the team leader in this deal, right up to the race, and I really wanted to do a good job for him and just tell him thank you for getting me involved in this with Dave Crussell and the rest of the crew. Those guys did such good work putting all this together, and we were so lucky to have some people get behind us, like American Dunlop. Yes. They brought in race tires for us, and they supported this in a big way, and you could see how good they performed whenever we sorted out the little gremlins in the motorcycle. That's the best it's been all weekend in that last race, and it shows what we're capable of doing.
Steve Martin took the overall winners in the Ken Wootton Trophy from Aaron Morris, and Josh Hayes in 3rd. It's scary what he is capable of doing. Look out in 2020. Sean Giles in 4th, Larry Pegram in 5th, and Michael Gilbert, a top result from him, in 6th position. Australia took out the International Team Challenge on 676 points, ahead of Team USA on 634, and Team New Zealand 3rd with 460 points. Congratulations to Team Australia taking the trophy for the International Challenge for the 2nd year in a row, and there was a large crowd on hand to congratulate all members of the team as they took to the podium to get their trophies. Of course, also rewarded was the Ken Wootton individual trophy winner, Steve Martin, on board bike number 99, who won the trophy for the first time with a 2-point advantage over Aaron Morris. Steve was joined on the podium by his children to celebrate the win, and now joins Emma Notafrancesco to sum up a successful weekend.
Well, what a fantastic weekend of racing, sensational battles, and a big congratulations to yourself, Steve Martin, and to Team Australia for taking home that trophy.
Yeah, what a weekend it's been. I mean, it's just incredible to be part of it. I just can't believe that we've done it again. It wasn't easy, though. You never know until the last minute when these things, and, just thank you to everybody that made it possible.
Well, congratulations. It was great seeing you out on the track again. We hope to see you down here next year. It's going to be even bigger and better.